Hi everyone, I am Isabel.
And I'm Kateri. Welcome back to another episode of No Sugar with Everything Krause.
Woo.
First, Isabel, welcome back to the United States of America.
Thank you so much. It has never been so amazing to be on American soil.
I know.
Looking forward to it, and now that I'm here,
that was
it's
like the
just as good.
longest 10 days ever.
The longest 10 days
It
of my
felt-
life. I literally texted you like on the last day and was like, I'm dying to get home.
No, I know.
Although it was amazing. Like, I don't mean it that way. I miss America whenever I'm gone. So
yes. And surprise everyone, I'm back in Pennsylvania. Actually, I'm with Isabel, but we just, for ease of the podcast, have to be in separate rooms. We're still trying to figure out the logistics of when we're together with audio and stuff. So
we were like,
Isabel's in my room and I'm in my brother's room recording.
Yes. Yeah. So funny. She's directly below me, but she surprised me yesterday at the airport.
Yes.
When I literally was walking out of baggage claim, and my best friend Luke was like, "Oh, and Katiri's getting us too." And I was like, "No, my dad, like just my dad." And he was like, "No, that's Katiri." And I was like, "What?" Like after a 9-hour flight, I was so shocked to see you, and I literally couldn't process it. Like I was looking at you like,
I know when I was looking at flights to come home, I was debating what day to book, and then my mom was like, well, Isabel comes home on Saturday. So our mom was like, Isabel comes home on Saturday. And I was like, what time does she come home? And she lands at 2:41. And there was a flight from Florida that landed at 2:42 in Philly. So I was like, oh, wait, perfect. Let's just book this. And then I'm not going to tell Isabel. And we'll both be at the airport at the same time. So my dad can just pick us both up and then I can be there and surprise her. So it was a fun little surprise.
It was awesome.
It was hard not telling you. Like there were so many times when it almost slipped of me being like, oh, I booked my flight home today. Yeah. But then I just didn't want to get into it. And I was like, I'm just gonna
I'm happy
about it.
Tell me though, because it was a great surprise. Like
right. I love doing little surprises where you can. Like nothing too big, nothing too planned out, just kind of it was happening.
Yeah.
I was flying home anyway, so
it made my Saturday better. Yes. My welcome home even better. So that was great.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to have you back. I'm very happy to be together. I'm sorry our episode is not filming together, people, but
we'll get there.
We
just want to, when we do get there, we want it to look good too. Like,
we're launching and adjusting, and this is part of the adjustment. So
it's fine. It's fine.
It's okay. But today's episode, since Isabel just got back from traveling to Switzerland and she studied abroad last semester, we're kind of going to be talking all things study abroad and also just traveling in general. I think it's a pretty relevant topic because Isabel just did it. And I know a lot of people your age in college or a little bit younger than you are thinking about studying abroad or just taking like going away for the summer, whatever it is. So I think it's a good idea to talk about it because you have a lot of tips and I think you have a really good head on your shoulders about it and a really good mindset, and you have so much experience now to talk about it. So it's like, let's dive into it.
Yeah, I've gotten so many questions. Like every time people see me, they do ask questions, which I totally get because I was always looking for someone like that.
Exactly. Because it's like they're the only people you can get answers from. People who've done it.
They live the real thing. But I do have some great pointers and tips because I feel like I am sort of an anxious person. So there was a lot of things that I had to overcome throughout those traveling months. So I feel like I definitely learned a lot and I have a lot to share, but it's also just general for travel as well. Like it's how you should approach every trip you take.
Exactly. So. I think so as well. So I'm kind of going to be asking Isabel questions throughout the episode. I'll touch upon my study abroad experience as well. Mine was 3 years ago. What? Why are you laughing?
I'm just laughing because I always forget that you studied abroad.
I know. Mine was 3 years ago in 2020. I was a COVID study abroader, so I got booted early, but my experience was very different from Isabel. So I think we can bring some different elements into it that way, but I'm a little more irrelevant in that department now. So I'm mainly going to be talking to Isabel about it, but we'll touch upon some things. Yeah. So let's just get right into it. So Isabel, going into studying abroad, like last semester, and even going into Switzerland, how did you approach getting prepared for it? Like packing, lists, what did you do? Because obviously you're studying abroad for what, 4 months? I think it's 4 months.
4 months. 4 months of outfits every day.
It's a chunk of time. And you're in a different environment, so of course you want to look cute, be cute. What did you do to prepare?
Yeah, well, so everyone knows that I am an overpacker.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever made it through an airport without checking a bag that's been overweight. Like literally, I don't think it's ever been underweight.
Like a big suitcase, unless
Yeah,
it's a little one.
in a big suitcase, we'll say that.
Mhm,
But so for packing, I really wanted to narrow it down for these 4 months, and also just in general, I overpack for every trip. But before Italy, the first thing I did was create a list of literally everything in creation that I could potentially need over there. Like
mhm,
everything, every single toiletry. I didn't just write like toiletries. I wrote every toiletry that I would need
mhm,
over there. So that made it really easy to just like, it was obviously very long and hard to check off everything. But once I did check off everything on that list, I knew I was done. So
mhm,
that was great. I definitely recommend starting off with a list. But on approaching the packing side, like of clothing, I really kind of funny, very extensive and time consuming, but it is worth it. I
mhm,
promise you. I normally unpack my entirety of my closet so I was there for kind of summer because Italy was very, very warm in
mhm.
September and October. So it went from warm to cold. It was the weirdest temperature change ever. So I really only packed, summer clothing and then some fall, kind of
Yeah, I feel like
kind of just like lighter pants instead
yeah.
of wearing shorts, and then only a little bit of winter because I was only there for 15 days in December, so it
Mhm,
wasn't going to be that cold for that long. But I emptied everything out of my closet that I even remotely liked or considered wearing and put it onto my floor for each season. So I just had a massive pile of clothes on my
massive pile
floor,
of clothes.
massive. And then I separated them by pants, tops, workout, jackets, blazers, stuff like that. And I kind of just narrowed down each pile too. I really was hard on the elimination process. So I went through all of my pants and I was like, will I wear these?
Mhm,
Is there even a shirt in here that goes with these? And if there was no, then I put it in a eliminated pile. I also had an like potential pile that I waited to Kateri knows that pile because I called
yes.
her and my mom up into
And we
my
literally went through each item and we're like,
room.
"Yes, no."
Yeah, so
Oh,
that was the potential. That was if I had a hard time cutting that item off. If
yeah.
I was like, "I want it
Isabel
there."
Isabel and I, side note, we have this emotional connection to all of our clothes, so whenever we're going somewhere, it's like
It's gonna get
well,
hurt. It's gonna
yeah,
get hurt if it doesn't come.
it's like the shirt has feelings or something, and I haven't worn it enough, so I have to bring it, but it's like, if I haven't worn it in the past year, what makes me think on this specific vacation, I'm gonna all of a sudden wear this top?
Like, the most uncomfortable top ever, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yes, this
yeah.
needs to be there."
So don't put feelings in your outfits because
Yeah.
they don't
Like,
have
cut it
them.
off. If you don't
Yeah,
think you're gonna wear it, don't bring it because 'cause
yeah.
you're not. So, yeah, so I did that. I did the elimination process, and then once I had my piles down to what I thought I wanted, I looked at each item, and I literally folded them up and took a picture of every single thing I was bringing.
Mhm. Like,
So,
individually, or did you I thought you just
I did them as group photos because it started
like
getting down to a
shirts.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I did, like, a group of shirts, and I know every piece of clothing in my wardrobe, so I folded them instead of taking the individual photos because I knew
yeah.
what the shirt looked like. And then I, like, labeled each picture, like, blouses, tops, workout tops, blazers, stuff like that, and I made an album on my phone called Rome Clothes.
Mhm.
And then it was very nice though, because every time I was in class and I was bored and I was going away for the weekend, I was like, let me look at my photos and see what I should pack. Like it
Yeah,
was
no,
very,
that's very
very
smart.
convenient. Yeah. So it definitely saved time. And then I knew everything that was in my suitcase. So I didn't know what the unpacking situation was going to be like there. So if I had stuff folded up in a drawer, I still knew it was there, even if
Exact
it was
well, I
hidden.
was about to say that I feel like when I studied, I didn't take a photo of, like, anything I was bringing.
Yeah.
So, our unpacking situation, our closet situation was very small, so I had things that when we were packing to leave, I found and was like, "Oh my god, I didn't even know I brought this with me."
Yeah.
Like, I could have worn that. So,
Yeah.
it just is a very good way to not be wasteful with your clothes and actually be resourceful, and also, yeah, when you're on the train or you're in class, whatever you're doing, you can peek at your closet, basically.
Yeah. It was really helpful. And I honestly think I wore every single thing I packed.
You did really good.
Like, I did
I'm
really good with packing.
Mhm.
I did go shopping before, so I recommend that if you have an idea of type of stuff you want. You can also go shopping, I think, after you pack to see if there's anything that you're missing
Yeah.
while there, but you do like it's true. The fashion over there is unbelievable.
Mhm.
So don't think that you're going to be wearing most comfort all the time, because a lot of the times I was dressed up every single day. And I was like,
What
thank God I brought this nice of clothing
Mhm.
here, because I did wear it every day. It's how I had to look. It's how I wanted to look personally.
Exactly, and I also think going off that, which a lot of people say, just in your wardrobe in general, it's good to have staples, but especially when you're traveling somewhere, bringing a white t-shirt, a black t-shirt, a gray t-shirt, a
Oh my
beige
God.
is so important so that you can flip-flop that with
It
any
saved me. Yeah.
any blazer, like whatever it is, and you can wear the same shirt 3 days in a row, but with different pants and a different jacket or whatever it is, and no
Yeah.
one will even know. The only
That's
person who
yeah.
knows is you. I think that's, like, the biggest thing. It's like
Yeah. No one's paying that close attention to another person. And if they are, oof.
yeah.
You got to spend some more time on yourself there. No, that was too harsh. Sorry. But that is mainly what I do. I do like I had for every single season like tan tank top, black tank top, white tank top,
Mhm.
tan long sleeve, white long sleeve, black long sleeve,
Yeah.
tan sweater, black sweater, white. Like every single season I had that, so it was just a base for me, just in case I wanted to pack really light for a trip and just have different
Yeah,
jackets
it's like
or
when in doubt, you
yeah.
can just grab one of them and know that
That's a
you'll be
yeah.
good.
That's a really good tip, because it does save a lot of room just having the basics there. But that is mainly how I packed. I just created a list, went through every item, and then once I narrowed it down, I rolled really, really tiny, and I
Mhm.
used packing cubes. It was my first time actually ever using packing cubes, and it was phenomenal.
We
Like,
rolled. We
we
rolled.
rolled into those even for the packing cubes, but
Mhm.
I fit I wish I had a photo. I still have the photos for my wardrobe. I wish I could show them to you guys of how
We'll
much
put them
stuff I
up.
brought.
Maybe we'll put them up on the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I had at least 13 blazers. Like I had 15 different little tops. I had so much stuff with me. Like I brought so much. I was
I
never in a shortage.
Yeah, I also do think less is more though. So Isabel is an overpacker. So as someone who's an overpacker, she brought a lot so she could have a surplus of options.
Yeah.
But I think if you know you're only going for like 2 weeks, even a week vacation, and you have those staple pieces, just remind yourself that. And you don't need to go crazy. You don't need all
Yeah.
these insane blazers with you. But obviously, if you want some fun outfits, put them in there or go shopping there because
Yeah, because they do have
Europe's taste is it's
phenomenal. It really
phenomenal.
it really is. I did do that for Switzerland though. Like I only brought a black, like I had black pants and a black top, and then I just had a ton of
Mhm.
different overcoats, and then I had like jeans and then one tan pair of pants. So that
Yeah,
was
I
kind of
feel like
like
you
the
had, like,
basics.
this yeah, the
Yeah,
same outfits just in different ways.
and it was the only time my suitcase has ever been underweight.
I
It
know.
was
Isabel
underweight,
Isabel texted our family group chat, like, what was it, 39 pounds?
39 pounds.
Insane. I was like, "My suitcase coming home from Florida was 50.4 pounds."
Yeah, my suitcase going to Utah for literally what? How many
A
days
week.
was that? 7 days? 7
Yeah,
days I was in Switzerland for 10. 7 days was like 52 pounds. I was like, "You're
yeah.
kidding me. You're
I
kidding."
know, I know.
Um, so that worked out really well, that it was underweight, but yeah, definitely stick to the basics when you're traveling.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip.
Mhm.
So, before, obviously so you're packing, you packed everything. Obviously, you're getting anxious. I think
Yes.
it's very normal. I know before I left, I was super anxious. It was coming off the holidays for me. I went in January, so it was a different time. But how did you deal with anxiety? Did you deal with it? What was it like when you just talk about all of your anxiety, I think, kind
Yeah.
of going into it and then when you first got there? Because I know for me, when I first got there, I was so unbelievably homesick. Mom called me on the first day and I went outside and was just like bawling my eyes out to her
Yeah.
because I just felt so homesick and like uncomfortable. And I've always been like that. Like when I moved into college freshman year, I bawled my eyes out for like 2 weeks straight. I didn't talk to my mom or
Yeah.
anyone in my family on the phone for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally. I didn't like sleepovers when I was younger, like, I've always been that type of person. So, how did you kind of handle that and all
Yeah.
throughout abroad? Because
All throughout
obviously
it. It's present for
yeah,
sure.
anxiety isn't something that comes and goes and is just gone forever.
Yeah, so I have been always been the same as you is that way. Like I hated sleepovers as a kid. I still do. Like
Mhm.
everyone
I
that knows
know.
me, like
Isabel does.
my one of my best friends, Kira, she always laughs at me because she's like, I just know that you always need to go sleep in your bed. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, I do. I
Mhm.
do. I've never liked them. And I go to Drexel. That's like 35 minutes from my home. So, I've never really had to do a move away. This was actually
Mhm.
the first time I think I've ever been away from home and not see my parents in that long of a time.
Yeah,
Like
it's
for and
I think
actually been away. Like
Mhm.
not even just Cape May where I can, they come down on the weekends and it's also my home. So it's like it feels very comfortable there. So there was definitely a ton of anxiety leading up to it, I think all summer. Like I just had it on the back of my mind since
Mhm.
I got accepted into the program because I knew it was going to hit me and I didn't want it to. So I kind of put off thinking about it until it really came down to the week before. And you and mom definitely felt the meltdowns. I think I had like 3 different meltdowns in my room where I was just like
Freaking out.
crying. And I don't know what it was. I think it wasn't even like the process of going there. I was so excited. I think it was just so unknown. And I
Mhm.
was like, wow, like I literally don't know what to expect because this is also, I had not been to Europe other than Amsterdam before, which
Mhm.
Amsterdam is such a different culture than Italy. And I was like,
And you were
wow.
there for 10 days, so it
Yeah.
was
And I had no idea what to expect at all. So I definitely was absolutely anxious before, sobbing up until right before the flight. Like I almost threw up at the gate
yeah.
on
So
the plane ride over.
did you do anything leading up that kinda helped that anxiety?
Yeah, I did journal a lot. I have a journal entry actually out in front of me of my a little I'll read a part of it that I wrote on the plane ride over.
Mhm.
But prior to even getting on the plane, I would say I kind of just like I did everything really to put off that anxiety. Like I did as much research as I could
Yeah,
because
I was gonna
I
say, I feel like research is the best
yeah,
way to calm that
like there was really
only thing you
nothing.
can control in that
Yeah.
moment.
Like, so although the future was so unknown, I made everything that could be known known. Like, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, I found out everything that I could find out. So from watching videos of other study abroad students, random girls on YouTube, looking
Mhm.
up random like street views of Rome just to
Yeah.
get familiar with it and also understand really what the cultural difference was going to be like when I got there. And my best friend also did study abroad at the same university like the year prior, the fall before me.
Mhm.
So he filled me in a lot on what to expect with classes and also how it was exactly going to go. And sort of whenever I needed help, I could text him anything and he would
Mhm.
just like get me a phone call and help me right away. So
Yeah.
that was very good, but I definitely recommend researching like any question that you're having in your mind, look it up online. Like if you're like, "Oh, but what about this?" Look it up.
Look it up, see if you can
See if
find the
there's
answer.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also used this approach. I want to read you the journal entry. Like a
Ooh,
little
fun.
yeah, a little look right here. I definitely recommend bringing a journal by the way. Put that on your packing list.
Yes.
But this is what I told myself on the plane ride over because I was shaking on the plane ride over. Like, "Oh my god, I'm going to land in Rome, Italy, and I will not be back for 4 months. This is
Mhm.
crazy." So this is what I wrote to myself. I said, "So as my siblings, parents, Luke, and quite literally everyone has told me, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to take in the culture, the language, the town, the history. I'm going to choose to see the beauty of Italy rather than let my fears take away from this adventure. Xander told me to be open minded and go in looking for fun because if I go in pissed, sad, scared, well, then it will really blow. I either make the most of it or I don't. I choose how these next 4 months will go. I know it'll be a life changing and unforgettable experience if I choose to make the most of it. I mean, I'm living in Italy. This is a dream and a once in a lifetime opportunity. Wipe my tears, overcome the thoughts of uncertainty, and let myself live in the unknown. It can be a beautiful place. I am blessed. I am grateful. I will have the time of my life."
Oh
So
my
that's what
god,
I know.
that was
So
amazing.
that's what I wrote myself though, because it really everything I really did say in that is true. Like that's what was going through my head. Xander has said that to me and it's stuck with me forever. Like if you are doing something that you don't want to do or you're nervous to do, if you go in with the mindset of I'm not going to have a good time, this is going to suck. Like
Mhm.
yes, it's going to. You just made that decision to make it suck, to make it
Exactly.
suck.
So
Like
you're gonna do everything, not
yeah.
even knowing that you're doing it in your power to make it suck for you.
Yeah. So I was like, literally the only thing I can go in and make sure I have a good time is to just like act like it. Like act
Mhm.
like I'm having a good time no matter if I was dying with anxiety that morning. It was
Mhm.
just it was the one thing that got through to me. I think of what he said is that I had to make the most of it and embrace it because I was going regardless of whether I wanted to or not. And that was that. Like I was on that
And
flight.
and deep
I was
down
on it.
yeah, deep down you wanted to, of course, because you signed up for the program, so it
Yeah.
was you weren't gonna let your anxiety hold you back from that and those amazing experiences that you got to experience, so
Yeah.
I think just taking that with you in any situation, like Isabel said, that you're going into, it's like you can decide how it's gonna go for yourself. Yes, it might not be exactly where you wanna be or what you're doing, but it's kind of the underlying theme of everything that we have talked about on the last episode and kind of into
Yeah.
this. It's like you get to decide. You
It's a
can control.
choice.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
just
choice.
everything in your life is a choice.
So
You
you
can
can
choose to live a great life if you make that conscious decision. Like, you
exactly.
are in control of that. And I know we always say that, but it always comes down to that. I'm realizing it as we do these episodes. Like, I don't even mean to bring
Be
that back. I'm just like, wow, it's literally a choice.
exactly. And it's like you decided on the plane ride over that you were going to make the most of this experience. And I truly felt like you did.
I did. I absolutely did. I did not look back. Once I closed my journal, I did not look back to that
Mhm.
anxiety once. I mean, I thought about it, the anxiety, but that was just like I
Yeah,
just reread that entry over and over again every time I was anxious.
I
And
also think
I
I think
was
that
anxious.
you are very good at handling your anxiety from an outside perspective, and as your sister, I see it, and you do not let it stop you ever. Like,
No,
if
yeah.
you have crippling anxiety one day, I'm not like, you just take yourself out of it, and you're like, "It is what it is, and I'm not gonna not do something because I feel anxious." It's
Yeah.
I'll feel more anxious if I don't do it because I was anxious.
Yeah.
Like, it's that spiral effect almost. So I think you do it I have to give you props. You do a really great
Thank
job
you.
at
Thank you.
removing it from your life so that you can
Yeah, I do work hard on that. Like, I feel like I'm very stone cold with my anxiety. When I get anxious, I almost force myself to do whatever I'm anxious about because I'm like, that's the only way to break it.
yeah.
Like, that's what I just tell myself. I'm like, oh, I'm anxious about it. That means I have to do it. That's
Mhm.
kind of how I flip it and reverse it on my anxiety to kind of like get it back. So it definitely has to be a strong mindset though. Like, I feel like I am like, oh my God, I have to do this. And
I
it
know.
takes a lot. But
In
even
the
when
end
yeah.
in the end, it's worth it.
I was just gonna say, like, also, I just talked a lot about anxiety before, and I'm not gonna say it's not present when you get there.
Yeah.
Like, when I landed and I had that first day in Rome, it was amazing, but it was on the back of my mind that entire day because
Well,
I was
because you're uncomfortable the whole time.
yeah, I was very uncomfortable, and I was literally, like, looking at the city as, "Okay, this is my new home.
Mhm.
Okay." Like, I wasn't looking at it as, like, "Oh my god, look how cool this is." I was like, "Okay, like, is that a cafe I could go to?" Like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
and
So
it's not like
everything
it's a new city, like, you're moving to New York City or Chicago or something. You're literally going to Rome, Italy, where they
yeah.
don't even speak your language.
Yeah, like, I was
You're the
foreign.
outsider.
I was such an outsider,
Mhm.
such a foreigner, like, it's a term foreigner for a reason, you are
Mhm.
foreign
Yeah.
to the land, and it got to the point where I literally like, the first day I was with my 2 roommates, and we were sitting at Piazza Venezia, which is, like, a big white
Oh,
building. I'm not gonna say it's called we
sounds
called
so
it
fancy.
yeah, we called it the big white building in Rome just to make it easier for us, but I literally was sitting there taking a break because we just walked for, like, 2 hours, and
Mhm.
I just started crying right there. Right then, I was just sitting with my thoughts and I was like, "Man, I need to cry." And I just started crying because I was so anxious and I was like, "Okay, that's it. That's the
Mhm.
last cry for the rest
Yeah.
of this abroad." And I really think that I did cry towards the end of abroad because I was starting to get tested a little bit more, but I do
Mhm.
think that was the last cry I had for almost 2.5 months before I cried again about anxiety. So it is gonna be present once you get there, and you just have to keep reminding yourself that, "Okay, well, you're here, so
Mhm.
let's move forward. Let's do something to not make me anxious. Let's go make the most of this day." So,
Mhm. And do you think that was the most, like, culture shock experience was really just being in a foreign land and being so foreign to where you are throughout the whole time? Like, you're
yeah.
not gonna just
Oh
become
my
this native in 4 months, obviously.
yeah, it's actually such a great point because I feel like people that definitely is. I feel like people make it out to be like, "Oh, what was the culture shock?" Like, no, being there is the culture shock. That's
Exactly.
how I felt
Yeah.
personally, like, I
Like,
everywhere
every
ev
city you went to, every
yeah.
country, it didn't matter, it was, like, the same type of culture
Yeah.
shock, just in different
And no
ways.
matter how long I was there, I was still an American. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? I was still deep down an American, obviously to all of them. They
Mhm.
know what we look like. Like, we are very different looking than
Yeah.
Europeaners in particular. I totally understand how they know we're American from first glance. Like, I
Yeah.
can tell they're European from first glance. So it definitely felt like a foreigner no matter how much of the language I learned, no matter how used to or like how much I adapted to the culture. I was always foreign and that
Mhm.
feeling was always present on me. I like to call it, I don't mean this in a scary way, but I like to call it a blanket of anxiety because I feel like every move you make is not the most comfortable. Like, no matter what you're doing, even when you're putting your head down on the pillow at night, you know you're in a foreign country still.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a little blanket of anxiety over everything you do when it comes to walking out on the street in the, like that first step out of my apartment to walk to classes. It's like just looking at a bunch of Italians. It was like,
Yeah.
whoa, like it was a lot. So I think that was the most culture shock. And they just have such a different culture over there.
Mhm.
Like just the entirety, their entire way of living was a shock to me because it truly is so different in America. And I will say, like, I love the American culture. I really do. Like every
Mhm.
time I leave the country, I am like, man, I know why I love
It's
America.
a
Like,
reminder, yeah.
yeah, it's such a reminder. And I mean that in like the best way because I just love my mornings in America. I love how we do things. I love how we operate. Like, I like waking up early, going to the gym, going to work, going to classes, like doing that because that's what I'm used to.
Exactly.
And there, it was so like we woke up and like people are sitting out at cafes drinking their cappuccinos for like 2 hours. I'm like, what is going on?
Mhm.
Like, it was like such a
It's just not what
reverse,
you're
yeah,
used
such a
to.
different lifestyle that was so beautiful to experience that I got to experience it, but also like, wow, okay, this is really not how I live and I need to figure out how to live the way they
Mhm.
live. So that definitely was the biggest culture shock to me too. Just like the way they live is so different. It's
Yeah.
true. Like they say there's a culture shock because there is. Every
Yeah.
culture is different. It's really, really crazy
Yeah.
to even notice that. So
Mhm. And how was it traveling? Because you as well went on a different type of program than I did. So my program was a Virginia Tech program. I went with Virginia Tech teachers and all tech students. So I don't even know how many of us there were total, but all my classes were with the same people. Even if I didn't know them at school, it's like we all went to the same school. And I went with a big group of people that I was friendly with at school. So I definitely had a different experience in that. Like I wasn't really traveling with that many random people, so to speak. So how was it for you traveling with people who you knew of, but only like two of them, or you were
yeah.
just traveling with all people you had just met? Like how was that experience?
Yeah. So like Kateri said, that was my experience was so unbelievably different than what Kateri said. It was not a Drexel, it was a Drexel program, but it was the university I went to was called the American University of Rome. It was like Charleston, Miami, like I can't
Mhm.
even think of the schools. There were so many different schools there, and they were just all different kids studying abroad. Like Drexel was a minority in that
Yeah.
situation. There was like 10 Drexel kids over there. And I knew, like you said, I knew because I had 3 girls in my sorority when I was going over, but I honestly had no idea they were going until
Mhm.
like a month before, and I was very like friendly with them. Like obviously would talk to them if I saw them on campus or something, but I think like they even know like we were in totally not totally different circles. Like
But like different friends,
yeah,
different
different friends,
parties,
different
whatever it
best
is.
friends. Like for who I am as a type of person, I have a lot of like I have very close best friends in my life, and like those
Mhm.
are my people. I would say my circle is very very small, and I keep it that way. So if you're not like my best friend, like I don't consider you as not that I don't mean it in that way. It's just like we're in a totally different circle
Yeah.
or scene. Like
Yeah.
I don't see you every day, and that makes me already uncomfortable. Like I'm not
Mhm.
that comfortable with you.
Yeah.
So I knew them and I knew their friends, I knew their their social scenes. So that was very comfortable, but it was still new to, okay, I'm living with these girls. Like, how is that going to go? I don't know what their day-to-days are like. I know what they're like when they go out to a bar maybe, but I don't know what they're going to be like living with them every single day.
Yeah, and everyone's
Yeah.
different, so it's not like all of you are gonna travel the same, all of you are gonna react the same to
Yeah,
situations and
exactly.
wanna do the same thing, so I think finding that balance can be tricky too.
Yeah.
But it's
So
also just embracing that, I think,
it is
no
like
matter what or who you're with, you can only control yourself and not the people you're with, so just kind of feel it out and go from there,
yeah,
really.
that's so true. And I only knew about 3 girls going into it,
Mhm.
which was so scary for me
Yeah.
because I was like, how am I gonna make friends? Like I am very so unbelievably social, but still I was like, I don't know who any of these other people are gonna be. What if no one's like me? So that was very scary going into it. But once I was there and kind of like I met, it was great. Once we all met, like my apartment was a great group of girls.
Mhm.
I ended up doing a lot of trips with a lot of the girls that I actually live with.
Mhm.
I did some trips with no one that I knew, some trips with people who were studying abroad in other countries
Mhm.
even, but it was definitely hard going in. Not I said it, I actually wrote about it in my journal too. I made a comment about I read my journal entry before to get me in the mood for this
Yes.
podcast, but I made a comment about how I'm going to have to be like create a different personality almost with
Mhm.
these people because if they're not, my everyday, like they're not you to me,
Mhm.
then they don't exactly know who I am, and I don't know if that personality will mesh well. And
Exactly.
I didn't want any drama. That was my big thing. So I was like, I'm not going to mold to whoever, but I will adjust and adapt to whatever situation I am
Adjust
in to have
accordingly.
it. Yeah, I'll adjust accordingly to have a social circle,
Mhm.
which I definitely think did happen. But
Yeah.
going off of that, I just have a lot to say on this because this was a part of the experience. Like going in with not knowing many people and trying to figure out travel plans was hard. Like I wanted to go to a lot of different countries and I did. I did end up doing all of that, but I did not know like who I would travel with, who wanted to go to those countries.
Mhm.
And a lot of the girls in my apartment actually had a ton of the same countries as me, but we all had like the same mindset of we all created a list of where we wanted to go
Mhm.
when we got there. And one thing that I actually did, Luke, you'll hear his name a lot. You'll hear certain people's names a
Yes.
lot from my circle, but Luke, he's one of my best friends, and he was the one who did the study abroad prior. He told me that I need to approach the abroad and take control of it because it is very easy to be a follower in an abroad, but if you want to do stuff that you want to do and you want to have the best experience, then you just need to go out there and do it for yourself and then figure out the rest of it later,
Yeah,
which is
like,
eventually,
don't
yeah,
place that responsibility in anyone else's hands but
yeah.
your own.
Yeah, so that's honestly exactly what I did. Like
Mhm.
I wrote down a list of where I wanted to go and I found people to go there with me. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like I did not base it off of like, oh, no one wants to go here, like I guess I won't go there.
Mhm.
I literally like the one weekend I went to Paris, my roommates had already gone to Paris when it was over our fall break, which was when Kateri and my mom were there. So I missed Paris and I was like, well, I'm not gonna miss Paris. I have to figure this out. So I literally like found well, they're actually Luke's best guy friends from home, and I had traveled the first weekend with them because Luke was visiting me.
Mhm.
So I literally texted them and was like, "Hey, are you guys thinking of going to Paris at all?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're going this weekend. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yep." And then I just like
Perfect.
literally went, and then I
Mhm.
worked that into my schedule, and I looked at whatever free weekends I had, and I put a country there, and I would text people and be like, "Hey, are you going to this country?" And
Mhm.
whatever weekend they had, I put it in my, and it literally like I had so many different options in my notes of like
Mhm.
different ways, like different weekends I could go here with this crowd, with this group, with this group. Like I
Mhm.
just made it accessible for me to go to every country based on everyone around me. Like
Yeah.
you know you have to adjust to the situation.
You have to be very open to other people, like, we're very open people, like, if I go into any situation, I'm not going to judge someone off of what I've seen on Instagram or just off of, like, first glance, so I
Yeah.
think we're both very like that in general, but I just think going into situations where you don't know many people and you don't know how it's gonna be, it's like, go in with, like, open eyes, open ears, and just watch what happens. Because I think when you do it that way, you don't set these expectations that these people better be like this, and this, or I'm gonna have a miserable time.
Yeah.
And if you can just go in open and let the rest kind of play out. And if you want to go somewhere that other people don't, that's okay. Like figure it out. See who does want to
Yeah.
do that. And I
Yeah.
think the polar opposite of that was what I did, basically.
Well, I
Um,
think you were kind of I think you were kind of forced to do that. Like I'd love
yeah.
for you to talk
So
about that because this is the main difference I think
in
in
our
why our experiences were so different.
Yeah, so like I said, I went on a program where I knew a good chunk of people going. So traveling to places in Europe, it's like big groups don't work. And I was traveling in a group of 14 people, which was like insane. And it was hard because I liked all those people and we all liked each other. So it didn't make sense not to travel with each other. But at the same time, everyone was just saying, like, okay, we're going to go here this weekend because people from past trips. Like, this is what they did. This is the schedule they did. And I was just like, okay, okay. Like, I don't think I did enough research beforehand to be able to not be such a follower. Like, I really hate that I would to even admit that, but I definitely just kind of followed the crowd and what everyone was doing. Like, I say this to my best friend Katie all the time. I'm like, why didn't we go on a freaking trip alone together one weekend? Like, we could have gotten a hotel
One
room,
yeah.
had buffet breakfast, like all this stuff. Like, we are like the same person. Why didn't we just travel together? Why did we find the need to get these big Airbnbs with people and then like feel uncomfortable in some situations and do something we didn't want to do and miss out on something we did want to do? Like, why didn't we just freaking do the research? So I think just allow yourself to be you. And yes, it's nice to have a group of people, but it's okay to break free from a group and don't be a follower. Like, be your own leader. I'm not saying
Yeah.
you need to lead the whole pack, but like be your own leader. Cause I think when I look back on it, it's kind of tainted at the fact that I did things that maybe I didn't necessarily think of doing, or It's more I did things that I didn't do things that I wanted to do is really what
Yeah.
it gets tainted by. So I'm of course I and loved my experience as well. I'm not, shitting on my experience, but I think the biggest difference was how we approached who we went with. And I stayed with the same group and just kind of followed the crowd as opposed to taking control of my own experience and doing whatever I wanted to. And I kind of let that anxiety and stress of being there be like, well, I just want to be with everyone because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So let me just stay with everyone else in order to be safe and have fun, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
I think like that I definitely see you got sent home early too though, which is why I feel like I had time to
yes,
make that choice to
yes.
be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna start taking charge now and
Yeah.
plan the rest of my
I
trips.
got I got sent home like a month early, month and a
Which is
couple days.
so much time.
Yeah, it
So
is.
that's like
I
4 trips. That's
I
4
know.
total
I
trips.
had, like, crazy trips planned and didn't get to do it because of COVID, and I'm very blessed that I got home safely and was able to get out of there. So, it was just, like, unfortunate, but it was almost, like, at the same time when we got sent home, not that I was happy, but it was, like, almost a relief because obviously we had to go home. It wasn't like, "Oh, volunteer if you wanna go home, and if you wanna
Yeah.
stay, it's fine." It's like, "No, like, you have to get out of the country, like, right now, or
Yeah.
you're not gonna get back in."
Like you're getting on the flight.
Yeah, so I had no other choice, and it was almost like this relief because of the stress and anxiety on my body during that time. So, it's just I don't know, I just want people to if you're doing this experience, do things for you and don't
Yeah.
do them because other people wanna do it. If you wanna do what other people are doing as well, that's great, and if it matches that way, that's perfect, but don't feel pressure to kinda just go with the crowd. I think it's okay to take a step back and be like, I'm just gonna go find other people that wanna do what I wanna do and go that way.
Yeah, and I just one more comment on this because I you just made me think of it, like, be selfish. Don't think of
Yes.
being selfish as a negative because everyone there paid to go on that trip and to have this experience, so everyone
Mhm.
is going to make a decision that is going to benefit them, as
Yes.
they should,
Yes,
as they
exactly.
should. So if you wanna do something, go do it and go plan it for the weekend that works for you, and
Mhm.
they'll figure out a different weekend. People are so understanding over there, I will say, because 'cause you're all in the same process of, like, "Oh, well, I'm like, I didn't get mad at my roommates for going to Paris when I was gonna be on a trip with you." I was like, "Go,
Exactly.
I'll figure it out. Like, I
Yeah.
will find a time to go." So, be selfish in it because you kind of have to be in order to do what you wanna do. Like, and
Mhm.
everyone understands that. That's just
Yeah.
my last comment on it. So and honestly, if you wanna take a solo trip, do it.
Yeah.
The
Be
solo
careful, have
I
your,
yeah.
like, eyes up, ears ready, and, like, just kinda go for it.
Don't let this fear of going alone, like, take away and make you miss a trip because I think sometimes the alone trips are the best ones. I did one solo trip and it was like, I have such great memories of
Mhm.
what I was thinking in those moments, and it was,
Mhm.
like, just such an amazing experience, and it totally, like, it, like, made me mature for Europe. Like, I can do
Yeah.
anything in Europe, I feel like now. I
Yeah.
could travel anywhere and take control of any situation. I
And be
just feel like
okay.
I just feel like I totally have conquered the traveling and being a
Mhm.
foreigner over there. So,
Yeah. So now kinda going off of that and to wrap up our whole convo
yeah.
about it, coming home from Switzerland, of course, you just got back, but just ending your college abroad travels really, like, how are you feeling? What are your thoughts? And I don't know, we're always very wise when it comes to your overall thoughts after you experience something, and I
Yeah.
think you have a really good viewpoint on it. So, how are you kinda feeling after now?
Thank you. I appreciate that because I feel like I do put
You
a
do.
lot I always come home from a trip with a mouthful to tell Gutierrez of, like,
Mhm.
my takeaways. Nothing about the trip, my takeaways from what I learned on the
Yeah.
trip, and abroad being 4 months, I had some hella takeaways coming home from that. Like,
Yeah.
1, I don't think my biggest thing to tell you guys is that I don't think anyone ever focuses on the being home after abroad. I think they forget to talk about that part because it's so wrapped up in you being nervous when going abroad, but it kind of hits you like a truck when you get home because, like, to be completely honest, you've been outside of your normal routine and your social circle for 4 months. Like, I was there with all of my best friends at home. Like,
Mhm.
every single best friend I had was living a different life than me and on a different time zone even.
Mhm.
So, when I came home, it was to the point where, like, when we started going to Dave's backyard for new milk, I was like, "Oh, like, what's this milk?" Like, I
And
had
I'm like,
no
"Oh,
idea.
we drink raw milk now as
Yeah,
well."
we drink raw milk, we get our sourdough from here. I was like, "What the hell?"
I
Like,
know, it's
I
a
was, like,
huge.
so lost in little things like that, and obviously it was fine with time, but I do think it's definitely a shock to adapt back into the social scene, especially, like, being away from Drexel. from so long. It still isn't quite the same, and I don't think it ever will be. And
Mhm.
I'm happy for it.
'Cause I think you grew a lot as a person too,
I
so
gr
then
oh,
it's
I see, like, I felt the growth. Every
Mhm,
single day I was in Italy, I felt myself growing, and I look back and I think of that journey as more of a personal growth experience than
mhm.
a trip for me. Like,
Yeah.
that changed me. I am not who I was before I left for Italy, and I'm so happy. So it definitely obviously affects like my social scene. I'm not really into the same stuff that I was into before going. You know, I don't
Mhm,
go out nearly as much anymore, and I spend my time with people who I really value
mhm.
instead now. After this last trip, especially to Switzerland, I wrote this little paragraph I'm going to read to you guys, but it was kind of my thoughts on traveling abroad or traveling in general as a whole. And I just want to share it with you guys because this was kind of my last Europe trip for a bit, I think, because I just did a lot of Europe. This is sort of how I really feel like the final message of what I'm concluding is. So I'm just going to read it to you real quick. So I said, I don't say all of this to scare you. I say it because it's the reality and the honest truth. People don't always like the truth. However, lying is not my specialty. So, yes, abroad is going to test you. And yes, this truth should scare you. The entirety of the abroad experience is uncomfortable, unknown, and scary. However, the best things in life are outside the comfort zone. Think about that. Is that really true? Well, if it's in your comfort zone, that means you've done it before, you're used to it, it's dull. If you haven't, there's mystery, excitement, and creative thinking about what's to come. Those are the moments of growth that push you along this journey of life. It is absolutely crucial to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. There's a lot of uncomfortable situations in life, and if you run when you face them, you'll never grow, you'll never learn. If you leap into that uncomfortable area, the only thing that can possibly happen is learning something new or experiencing something new. So, really, you should be excited because going abroad is uncomfortable for the reason that you've never done it before. That means that you have a whole lot to learn and a whole lot of room to grow. Embrace that fear because it will change your life for the better. I left for Italy as a certain person. Now I've never felt so different. I can literally picture who I used to be and see all the areas I grew in. It's a new me, and that feeling is exhilarating. That was literally,
Beautiful. That was
thank you.
beautiful.
That was what I I wrote that after I journaled for an hour and a half. I
On the
journaled
plane.
for an hour and a half on the plane ride home from Switzerland, and then I was like, "Let me write some more,"
Mhm.
because after all of that journaling, I feel like I all of my feelings kind of settled, and I was like, "Oh, wow, like, I'm having a
Like a
awakening."
moment.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
moment of a realization about how much of what I just did has helped me in my life and changed who I am. And really what I just read, like I wanted to read it word for word to you guys because it's exactly how I feel.
Mhm.
And that's exactly like the truth of the situation and exactly what I think about it.
Yeah.
So I hope that resonates with some of you and I hope it does scare you, but I hope you feel that
In a
excitement
good way,
in a
yeah.
good way because it should. The best things in life come when you're scared. I truly
Mhm.
believe that and it is so true. So
Yeah.
I really hope you guys liked that. But yeah,
Yes. So I hope this episode resonated with some of you. I hope if you're deciding to study abroad, listen to this and let us know. Of course, if you have any questions, Isabel is a great resource. I am as well, but as well as a little more recent in the scene. So just let us know and
yeah.
always reach out, DM on Instagram, text us,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
any question you have about abroad because I didn't want to hit literally every question, but there are so many things I didn't discuss. Like literally DM us and I will go on and on. I will send you a voice memo
Yeah,
so
just
you
talking
understand.
about
Yeah, just
it.
talking about it. I'll FaceTime you. I'll do whatever to share anything about this experience because it's so great to have someone who went through it to talk to. So,
Yes. So if you're deciding whether to do it, just do it, go for it, and you'll experience so many beautiful things. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can watch this podcast on YouTube as well. So if you want a visual, feel free to head over to our YouTube channel at Everything Krause. Subscribe, of course, like anything like that. And please give us ratings on the podcast sites as well, because we are looking to grow. We're looking to get that constructive criticism, figure out what's working and what's not working. So we appreciate your guys' love and support already. And it's been amazing. Like we said, it's like so overwhelmingly amazing. It makes me
so like
it makes me
one
kind of
last comment,
emotional.
like it's so overwhelmingly amazing. That's such a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
Yeah.
Like,
It's been amazing. And I can't thank I don't if one person listens, it's amazing. So just the response we've gotten has just been so beautiful and eye-opening, and I feel like it just excites us even more and makes us want to do better and be better for you guys who are listening and who are watching. So thank you guys again. Stay tuned for our next episode next week, And if there's any ever topics or conversations you want us to talk about, text us, DM us, whatever it is. We are open to anything and everything.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Bye.